Chapter 65. Yes. Those guards were glanced at by Luo Qingtong's hollow eyes. They didn't know why, but they suddenly felt a deep chill in their hearts. He had no doubt that Luo Qingtong would do what she said. And when the other party said, "Throw them out," it was most likely not just to throw them out. She wanted to sweep them out of the house. Thinking of this, the guards immediately took action. Although First Miss was blind, it seemed that her martial cultivation was limited to this realm. But a skinny camel was still bigger than a horse. Not to mention that First Miss was deeply favored by the old master, the guards didn't dare to neglect her marriage with the fifth prince of the Tianyu Empire. In comparison, offending Third Miss was nothing. Even if Third Miss might inherit the Lord Protector's manor in the future, it was a matter of the future. What's more, so what if she inherited the Lord Protector's manor? First Miss was the future wife of the fifth prince of the Tianyu Empire. It was said that the fifth prince had been admitted to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin and was one of the few heaven-grade students. He had a promising future. How could Third Miss compare with First Miss? Thinking of this, the guards' movements were indescribably nimble. In just a short while, they had cleaned up all the things that the second household had done. Including the cages, cabinets, and furnishings that Second Madam had moved in advance, they were all cleared out. First Miss, everything has been cleared out. Those guards carefully said to Luo Qingtong, who was sitting next to them. Have you cleared out all those messy things? Luo Qingtong glanced at the messy piles of things and saw many of Second Madam's favorite things among them. Her good second aunt really couldn't wait. She moved her home here just like that. She slowly raised her lips with a smile and said lightly, "Are they all here?" "Very good, then burn them all. It's also good to let people know that not just any trash can move into my main courtyard." As long as Luo Qingtong was here, she wouldn't allow anyone to touch the main courtyard of the Luo family. Burn them? When the group of guards heard this, they thought that they had misheard. This belonged to Second Madam and the others. Although it didn't belong to Third Miss, but it still belonged to the second branch. Among them, there were obviously a lot of Second Madam's beloved items. They were all going to be burned? These guards were not in the front yard and did not know that Luo Qingtong and Luo Xinning were not on good terms. They still thought that Luo Qingtong was still the young lady who indulged Luo Xinning in the past. But he didn't expect Luo Qingtong to give such an order. They were still thinking that after Luo Qingtong's anger subsided, they would send the things back to the second branch. After all, the First Miss was blind. In the future, the one who would inherit the Luo family would most likely be the Third Miss. Since they lived in the Luo family, they naturally had to curry favor with them. When they heard Luo Qingtong's order, they were stunned. "What? I can't order you around?" Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and stared at them with her empty black eyes. No. Looking into Luo Qingtong's eyes, the guards didn't dare to say anything. Burn them. At this time, who dared to hesitate? No matter how blind First Miss was, her identity as the future wife of the fifth prince was enough to crush all of Luo Xinning's glory and pride. The group of guards quickly took action. In the courtyard of the second branch, Luo Xinning had just sent the unconscious Second Madam to her room when she saw the fire in the main courtyard. Chapter 66. Luo Xinning suddenly remembered that Second Madam had said that Luo Qingtong was dead and the Luo family would belong to them sooner or later. So, she had already packed her things and was ready to move into the main yard. Now, the fire in the main yard, could it be? Her heart skipped a beat and she hurriedly walked out of the door. Hurry up. Let's go and see what's going on in the main yard. Luo Xinning had a bad feeling in her heart. The Luo family would not be on fire for no reason. Not to mention the main yard, which was such an important place. Don't tell me it's Luo Qingtong. Just when Luo Xinning was thinking of this, she heard the voice of the maid outside hurriedly. Third Miss. Something bad happened. Eldest Miss cleared out all the things belonging to our second branch in the main courtyard and burned them all. Luo Xinming's mind went blank the moment she heard the maid's words. Luckily, she didn't move there. And the things she got, including the heirloom armor and the recommendation letter for Tianyu branch of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, were still in her room. Luo Xinming's heart pounded as she thought of this. She felt indescribably lucky. Then, she felt a chill in her heart. Luo Qintong was really different from before. If she was the old Luo Qintong, she would never do such a thing. No matter how much she hated her, she would not vent her anger on the things in the second branch. After dying once, she was really different. But Luo Qintong, even if you've changed, so what? I will never give away the things that are in my hands. Ah. My baby. Second madam just woke up. Hearing the maid's words, she rolled her eyes and almost fainted again. That little bitch who deserves to be hacked to death. How dare you burn all of my things? How dare she? How can she treat her elders like this? Second madam thought of her precious rouge, face powder, jewelry, and clothes. A lot of them were from Luo Qintong. As the future wife of the fifth prince of the Tianyu Empire, she could always get a lot of good things. Luo Qintong didn't ask for it herself. It was the royal family of Tianyu Empire who asked for it. There was also the filial piety from the aristocratic families of Eastern Fence Country and the flattery from the royal family of Eastern Fence Country. Luo Qintong didn't have a mother, so naturally, those things were given to second madam, who was good at disguising herself. The latter had taken a lot of benefits from Luo Qintong. Not only that, many clothes and jewelry better than those sent by Tianyu Empire were from the things left by Luo Qingtong's mother. The second madam was good at acting. Together with Luo Xinming, they had coaxed the Luo Qingtong so well that she would give them her heart. Today, these things were all burned by Luo Qingtong. Unable to bear the shock, second madam fainted again. In the main courtyard, Luo Qintong looked at the quiet main courtyard which had been restored to its original appearance and nodded with satisfaction. Good. There are no more people's breaths. The guards lowered their heads and didn't dare to speak. They had also just found out that the things they had burned were second madam's lifeblood. Among them were many treasures of second master. They were doomed. But they couldn't blame this on Luo Qintong. After all, Miss Luo was blind and couldn't see anything at all, right? If they had known, they would have told Miss that those things were important to the second branch. They complained in their hearts, but they didn't dare to show it on their faces. At this moment, a loud and clear voice choked with sobs suddenly rang out from outside. Chapter 67. A sonorous and burly figure rushed in from the outside. Before Luo Qintong could stand up, she was hugged tightly by the burly figure. Qintong. Grandpa's Qintong. When old Master Luo received the news that Luo Qintong was back, he rushed back to the Luo family without even taking off his blood-red armor. He had been searching for Luo Qingtong's whereabouts all this time. The Jiaowu mountain range was huge. With the appearance of the Immortal sect's ruins, there was an endless stream of people coming here. It was not easy to search. There were corpses everywhere. Old Master Luo was worried about whether he could find a corpse or not. If he found a corpse, he was afraid of seeing his beloved granddaughter die. If he couldn't find a corpse, he was afraid that Luo Qingtong's corpse would not even be whole. He was tormented by the tossing and turning. Now that he was hugging Luo Qintong, he could feel the warmth of her body in his arms. Instantly, tears welled up in his eyes. Qintong. I'm sorry. It's Grandpa's fault. I shouldn't have left you alone at home. If he was not at home, Qintong would not have gone to the Jiaowu mountain alone to break through. If he was at home, he would have stopped her. Fortunately, she was fine. Otherwise, he would never forgive himself. Luo Qintong was hugged by old Master Luo. She did not know what to feel. She could have avoided old Master Luo's embrace just now. But for some reason, when she saw this white-haired old man with red eyes and tears in his eyes, she could not move her feet away. Grandpa, Luo Qintong called out softly. She felt the old man's body tremble even more. The robe on his shoulders was soaked. It was obvious how sad and emotional Old Master Luo was. Luo Qingtong remembered that Old Master Luo had always been very stern and solemn in the original owner's memory. The original owner was even a little afraid of Old Master Luo. She always felt that Grandpa was too strict. She preferred to be with Luo Xinning and Second Madam because they treated her well. Now, who was the one who treated her well? Luo Xinning and Second Madam treated her well, but after killing her, they couldn't wait to take over her position. And Old Man Luo, the strict and fierce grandfather in the original host's heart, was looking for her everywhere. Isn't the situation at the Nine Magi Mountain dangerous? Old Master Luo was just a marquis from a small, inferior country. If he accidentally angered the powerful people from the powerful countries, he might be in danger. In this family, who was the one who was truly good to her, the original host really couldn't see it clearly. Grandpa, don't cry. I'm fine. Look, I'm back safely. Luo Qingtong softened her voice. She didn't have any relatives in her previous life. She was abandoned as soon as she was born because she was born with a pair of blood-red eyes. It was too scary. Luo Qingtong was raised by a beggar who picked up garbage. However, that beggar's life was too unlucky. When Luo Qingtong finally realized that her blood eyes ability could allow them to live a good life, that beggar finally died of a serious illness due to years of hunger and cold. From then on, Luo Qingtong was alone in this world. She was eccentric, evil, willful, and did things her own way. Because in that world, there was no one worth her attention. After Luo Qingtong became famous, her biological parents came to find her and wanted to acknowledge her. Unfortunately, she didn't care. Thinking of that unpleasant experience, Luo Qingtong's face suddenly turned cold. Then, she was pulled back to reality by Old Master Luo's action of hugging her and crying. Alright, Grandpa, I'm really fine. When did you become so childish? Luo Qingtong's face was full of helplessness, but her heart was moved. Original host, if you don't cherish this family, then give it to me. Chapter 68. How can you say you're fine when you're blind? Do you have to come back with a broken arm or a broken leg to be considered fine? Old Master Luo's eyes were bloodshot as he said in exasperation. Tell Grandpa, who did this to you? Was it Luo Xinning? Grandpa, it's okay. It's all in the past. Those who hurt me will get their retribution. Luo Qingtong said lightly. Rays of bloody light suddenly flashed in the depths of her empty and blank eyes. She was the retribution of those people. The original host was dead and the one who came back was her, the supreme pupil of the 24th century, evil pupil, Luo Qingtong. She would take back everything that they owed the original host. Grandpa didn't protect you well. Grandfather Luo's face was dejected. How could he not know that Luo Qingtong didn't talk about it? It meant that it had something to do with Luo Xinning. If not, why didn't she tell him? But Luo Qingtong didn't protect Luo Xinning anymore, which made Grandfather Luo very happy. If Luo Qingtong came back and said good things for Luo Xinning, he would be furious. But now, it seemed like his Qingtong had escaped death once. She could see everything clearly. This was good. This was better than anything. After your accident, Luo Xinning used your reputation as a hostage to snatch the Luo family's heirloom armor and the recommendation letter for you to enter the Tianyu branch of the Great Qin Holy Academy. At that time, Grandpa thought that she had something to do with your accident. Now it seems that I was right. But it doesn't matter. She can't steal the real heritage of our Luo family. Afraid of touching Luo Qingtong's sore spot, Grandfather Luo didn't mention anything about her blindness and pulled her back to his yard. Come. Qingtong, feel it. This is the real heritage of our Luo family. It's the symbol of our Luo family's glory. It's something that Luo Xinning could never imagine. She can snatch the heirloom armor and the recommendation letter, but she can't snatch these things. You don't even have the right to know these things. In the future, these things will all be yours. Luo Qingtong was pulled into a secret room by grandfather Luo. The design of the secret room was very clever and secretive. Even with Luo Qingtong's Do technique, she was still confused for a moment and did not see the existence of the secret room before grandfather Luo activated the mechanism. The secret room was filled with bookshelves. Luo Qingtong's gaze swept over the bookshelves. To her surprise, she discovered that the bookshelves were filled with soul technique manuals and cultivation experiences. The Luo family's true foundation was actually this? Luo Qingtong's gaze stopped on a soul technique manual. She was shocked to discover that this soul technique manual taught I techniques. The Luo clan's soul technique manuals were actually for cultivating I techniques? Shared the same origin as her? Luo Qingtong walked directly to the bookshelves. Grandfather Luo was afraid that she couldn't see, so he quickly went forward to help her. However, he was stunned by Luo Qingtong's abnormally quick action. He watched as she walked straight to the first row of bookshelves and pulled out a soul technique manual. He was surprised and happy at the same time. Qingtong, your eyes, grandfather Luo spoke carefully, afraid that he would accidentally touch Luo Qingtong's sore spot. However, Luo Qingtong's action was too surprising. Even if he knew that Luo Qingtong was blind, he still had to ask. What if? Chapter 69. Luo Qingtong turned around and smiled when she saw how nervous he was. Grandpa, I didn't have the time to tell you before. After I went blind, I suddenly learned a secret technique that allowed me to use my mental strength to look at people. That was how I was able to escape from the dangerous 9 Magi Mountains. I was still wondering what was going on and didn't know how to tell you. Now I know. It's because of the Luo family's history. Luo Qingtong had cleverly combined her own pupil technique with the Luo family's pupil technique. She had just taken a look and realized that the Luo family's pupil technique was very profound compared to the people in this world. But to her, it was too simple. She was born with a pair of blood-red eyes and the use of pupil technique seemed to be ingrained in her bones. The Luo family's pupil technique was nothing in front of her. But Luo Qingtong would not say this out loud. The Luo family's pupil technique gave her the best cover. Even if she used all sorts of pupil techniques in the future, no one would suspect her. Reincarnating in someone else's body was too strange. Even though there were all kinds of strange things in this strange world, Luo Qingtong didn't want anyone to know her secret. I see. Old Master Luo was very excited. No wonder you were able to escape from death. The Luo family is really blessed. Old Master Luo did not doubt Luo Qingtong's words at all. Luo Qingtong was the most likely candidate in the Luo family to be able to cultivate the pupil technique passed down by their ancestors. Her clear eyes were extremely in line with the characteristics of the vision of the eyes that had been passed down from the ancestors of her clan. It was said that such a person was born with the potential to cultivate pupil techniques. In the future, she would definitely succeed and restore the Luo family to its former glory. If not for the fact that Luo Qingtong and Luo Xining were too close, the Luo family would not have been able to cultivate the secret technique. And the ancestors had decreed that the direct descendants of the Luo family had to wait until they were 15 years old and confirmed that they had the talent to cultivate ocular techniques before they could know of the existence of this secret chamber. Old Master Luo would not have waited until now to tell Luo Qingtong about it. In fact, if not for the fact that Luo Qingtong was blind and broke with Luo Xining, Grandfather Luo would not have broken the ancestral rule in advance and brought her here. In his opinion, Luo Qingtong's eyes were already destroyed. Even if she couldn't cultivate the Luo clan's eye techniques, it would be good for her to be able to cultivate other soul techniques. His only granddaughter had already died once, and it wasn't easy for her to come back alive. Why was he still clinging to those ancestral rules? Therefore, Master Luo brought Luo Qingtong here without hesitation, regardless of whether she was under 15 years old or not. But he did not expect that Luo Qingtong would give him such a big surprise. Although his granddaughter was blind, she had accidentally awakened their ancestors' ocular talent. This was simply a blessing in disguise. Good. 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 Grandfather Luo was so excited that tears filled his eyes. Qingtong, grandfather is relieved now. You're not really blind. As for your eyes, when you're stronger in the future, you'll be able to find a way to cure it. Grandfather is so happy. Grandfather Luo was very excited. Luo Qingtong heard him and smiled without saying anything. She didn't need to wait for her cultivation to increase. As long as she could find the antidote, the poison in her eyes would be cured immediately. Then, she would be able to see. However, Luo Qingtong was not in a hurry to tell Grandfather Luo about this. Her ocular skills were too heaven-defying. It would be too eye-catching if she revealed it now. It was better to take it slowly and let Grandfather Luo slowly accept the fact that she had changed. At the same time, she could also improve herself. Chapter 70. Grandpa, you don't have to tell anyone that I'm not blind, Luo Qingtong said to Old Master Luo. Her empty and vacant eyes were curved and indescribably sweet. However, the smile at the corner of her lips was indescribably crafty and quick-witted. Just let others think that I'm blind. Sometimes, the heart is only bright when the eyes are blind. Grandpa, don't you think so? Luo Qingtong looked at Old Master Luo meaningfully. Old Master Luo was stunned for a moment, then he understood what Luo Qingtong meant. She wanted to use her blindness to see many things that she couldn't see normally. After all, if she was blind, many things wouldn't be hidden from her. Or rather, she didn't need to hide from her anymore. Haha. Okay. Grandpa will listen to you. Old Master Luo was very happy, and he agreed with a laugh. To him, Luo Qingtong had the ability to protect herself and be wary of others. This was something that he was very happy to see. After all, Luo Qingtong was good at everything, but her personality was too soft and gentle, and she was too easy to bully. If not for that, she wouldn't have been hurt by Luo Xinning. Thinking of Luo Xinning, Old Master Luo's face darkened. Although he told Luo Qingtong not to care about Luo Xinning, it was because Luo Qingtong was blind. He didn't want to agitate Luo Qingtong, so he didn't mention anything about Luo Xinning and the two things that she stole. Now that everything was fine and Qingtong had activated the talent left by her ancestors, it was time to return the two things that Luo Xinning stole. Qingtong, I didn't tell you about the two items that Luo Xinning stole. Forget about the armor. Although it's rare, there's no way to use it. Even if Luo Xinning had it, she wouldn't be able to activate its full power. But the recommendation letter from the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin is very important to you. The Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin is the only institution of higher learning in the Holy Dynasty. The Empire of Qin Holy Dynasty has a boundless territory and countless experts. 99% of them are from the Sacred Institute of the Empire of Qin. The Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin had countless rare treasures, as well as countless powerful cultivation techniques and martial arts techniques. More importantly, there was the most systematic teaching there. With the guidance of the Holy Dynasty's strongest expert. This is the most important thing. Old Master Luo was very serious when he said this. Although you have the inheritance of the Luo family, it is still not enough. Qingtong, Grandpa doesn't know soul arts. Even if I did, with my strength, I can't teach you either. You can only go to the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. You'll have better achievements there. The Tianyu branch of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin is a branch of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin in the Tianyu Empire. You'll only be qualified to enter the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin after you enter it. The Empire of Qin Holy Dynasty has countless territories. There are 8 empires, 3,000 high-class countries, 8,000 middle-class countries, and tens of thousands of low-class countries. Only a few people can enter the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. Qingtong, this place in the Tianyu branch is very important to you. You can't lose it. I'll go find Luo Xinning now and ask her to return what belongs to you. Old Master Luo said firmly. Wait, Grandpa. Luo Qingtong stopped Old Master Luo. She was surprised. She didn't expect the place in the Tianyu branch of the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin to be so important. No wonder Luo Xinning didn't hesitate to betray the original host and ignore all the benefits that the original host had given her. It turned out that there was such a benefit in this. Chapter 71. If she entered the Tianyu Branch Academy, wouldn't she soar to the sky? That way, she wouldn't be afraid even if she offended the old man. As for the benefits that the original owner gave her, how could it compare to the benefits of entering the Tianyu Branch Academy? Luo Xianning's ambition was really big. Luo Qingtong searched her mind and found that the place to enter the Tianyu Branch Academy of the Empire of Qin wasn't something that just anyone could get. It was a special reward given to the fifth prince after he was selected as a heaven-grade student of the Empire of Qin. Because Luo Qingtong was his fiancée and the future fifth prince's wife, the final place was given to her by the academy. Luo Qingtong didn't know how it was done, but she was the one who got the benefit. There was no doubt about it. Obviously, Luo Xianning was envious of him. This place to enter the Tianyu Branch Academy allowed Luo Qingtong to enter even if she didn't meet the requirements for the time being. This was equivalent to the special admission of the universities in the 24th century. She had the privilege of being exempted from the exam. This was interesting. Luo Qingtong smiled meaningfully. The original owner wasn't liked by the fifth prince and the Tianyu royal family. She wasn't his wife either. She was just a fiancée. How could such a place be given to her? Was it really not done on purpose? And the person who sent people to deal with the original owner was very rough. It didn't look like they were used to doing such things. How could the Tianyu royal family, as the royal family of the empire, only have such methods? Obviously, this was just someone acting on their own initiative. Luo Qingtong thought about it casually and guessed the truth of the matter. She smiled playfully. Grandpa, if Luo Xianning wants those things, let her have them. Some people don't climb higher, how can they fall more miserably? She already had a plan in her mind. She definitely wouldn't want that place to enter the Tianyu Branch Academy. Even if Luo Qingtong wanted to enter the Tianyu Branch Academy, she would do it with her own ability. What was the fifth prince? Since when was it his turn to protect him? Since the person behind the scenes wanted to get her into the Tianyu Branch Academy, wouldn't it be disappointing if she didn't go? However, it was up to him to decide when and how he would go. Moreover, even if she didn't want the spot in the Tianyu Branch Academy, she wouldn't let Luo Xinning have it. She would let Luo Xianning know that taking things that didn't belong to her would be troublesome. The more complacent and arrogant she was, the more interesting her expression would be when that thing that didn't belong to her flew away. Qingtong. You want to. Grandpa, don't worry about this. Anyway, I'm blind. Rather than letting others take advantage of this quota, I'd rather give it to my own sister, don't you think so? I think most of the people in the Luo family think the same way. If I don't comply with the will of the people, even I feel bad about it. Luo Qingtong smiled enchantingly and wantonly. Her face was beautiful to begin with, but when she smiled wickedly, it was like a sugar-coated poison. Her sweetness revealed an aura of absolute darkness and bewitchment. Grandpa, don't worry about this. I have my own plan. Now, I want to talk to you about something else. I want to break off the engagement. Luo Qingtong calmly threw out the bombshell that she wanted to break off the engagement. Pfft. Grandpa Luo was sitting at the side drinking tea. His granddaughter had become very good. After escaping death, she was no longer as weak and easy to bully as before. Chapter 72. What did you say? Old Master Luo looked at Luo Qingtong, who was sitting calmly in front of him, in shock. He almost suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. Why are you breaking off the engagement all of a sudden? Didn't you like the fifth prince before? She didn't just like him. She liked him a lot. That was why the original owner was so heartbroken when she found out that the imperial family of Tianyu colluded with Luo Xinning to harm her. Even Luo Xinning didn't hurt her that much. Luo Qingtong sneered in her heart. But I don't like him anymore. Luo Qingtong looked at Elder Luo. Seeing that he still couldn't accept it, she sighed and threw out her trump card. Grandpa, this is the secret guard token of the imperial family of Tianyu. I found it on the people who tried to kill me. Oh, right, they were hiding behind Luo Xinming's men. They saw me being destroyed and blinded by their poison. They were about to torture me. Luo Qingtong said casually. After I escaped, they rushed out and tried to kill me. I killed them instead. She then looked at the furious Elder Luo and said softly, Grandpa, Luo Xinming said I was too lucky and got in the way of others. I think I'm probably in the way of the fifth prince's meteoric rise. That was the only reason why the imperial family of Tianyu would try to kill her. Old Master Luo's hands trembled as he took the token from Old Master Luo. Pa! He fiercely threw the secret guard token to the ground. The veins on his forehead were bulging, and his killing intent was overflowing. Bastard! Bastard! He gritted his teeth and cursed. He didn't know if he was cursing Luo Xinming or the imperial family of Tianyu. Elder Luo had thought of many reasons why Luo Qingtong was in trouble, including Luo Xinming. But he didn't think that the imperial family of Tianyu would be involved. He thought that even if the imperial family of Tianyu wanted to break off the engagement, they wouldn't do something so despicable. But now he realized that he was wrong. Not only would they not use such underhanded means, but they would also not use such underhanded means. Instead, he used an even more disgusting and infuriating method. Crippling his cultivation, blinding his eyes with poison, and throwing his granddaughter to be ravaged by a group of men. Just imagining this scene made Elder Luo's face turn purplish red. His eyes were bloodshot. Annul the engagement. He must break off the engagement. Not only did he want to break off the engagement. I want everyone to know what the imperial family of Tianyu is. The fifth prince is not worthy of my granddaughter. Elder Luo was about to explode. He didn't care whether this matter had anything to do with the fifth prince or not. Tianyu's imperial family had been dissatisfied with Luo Qingtong for a long time. Did the fifth prince not know? No. He knew. But he had never cared about it. She had once thought of breaking off the engagement, but he firmly refused and said that he would definitely marry Luo Qingtong. Plus, his granddaughter liked it, so old Master Luo didn't insist. But now, I'll leave tomorrow. I'll go to the Empire of Tianyu to break off the engagement. They had done such a shameless thing, so they wouldn't insist on breaking off the engagement. Well, the Luo family didn't want to marry Luo Qingtong anyway. Annul the engagement. The engagement must be annulled. Luo Qingtong looked at Elder Luo, who was like a lion protecting its cub. She couldn't wait to go to the Empire of Tianyu and question the Yuan family. She smiled happily. It was nice to have a grandfather who would protect her. Chapter 73. Third Miss. Third Miss. Something bad has happened. The next morning, Luo Xinming rolled on the bed and fell asleep for a while. Then, she heard a commotion outside. What is it? Why is it so early in the morning? She rubbed her forehead and looked angry. Luo Xinming had been thinking about the changes after Luo Qingtong came back and how to protect the two things she got. She only went to bed when the sun was about to rise. Of course, she was not in a good mood when she was suddenly woken up. No, third miss. It's the first miss. No. There was a female corpse hanging at the city gate. A crying old woman said, "It's our first miss. Now he's been captured." She said it was you. Third miss, you ordered her to go there. As long as she saw a naked female corpse hanging at the city gate, regardless of whether she was dead or alive, she would know it was the first miss of the Luo family. The servant girl who came to report was in a panic. She spoke incoherently for a long time before she was able to explain the situation clearly. What? Luo Xianning's face was filled with shock. Instantly, her sleepiness disappeared. She felt cold as if she had been doused with ice water. She had made such an arrangement before. However, after the change in Jiaowu Mountain, she thought that Luo Qingtong was dead for sure. She had already gotten the two things from the Luo family, so she let it go. Why would there be a female corpse and a crying woman calling Luo Qingtong? Luo Qingtong had already come back to the Luo family. Wait. Not many people knew that Luo Qingtong had come back to the Luo family. Could it be someone else? As Luo Xinning thought about it, a name appeared in her mind, Yu Wenxue. The seventh princess of Tianyu royal family, Yu Wenxue. She wanted Luo Qingtong to be hung at the city gate and humiliated in front of thousands of people. Her reputation would be ruined. That was what the seventh princess had suggested. Could it be that she was the one who planned this? Luo Xinning was anxious and angry at the same time. That stupid woman. Luo Xinning almost tore the handkerchief in her hand. Yu Wenxue was too spoiled and willful. Did she not know how to read the situation? Why didn't they discuss such a big matter with him before acting? He was really going to be killed by her. Luo Xinning was furious. Just as she was thinking of how to draw a clear line between herself and this matter, a token suddenly shot in from outside and landed on her dressing table. Clang! We've failed. Come quickly. Looking at the note on the secret guard token, Luo Xinning almost broke her fingernails. You finally remembered me at this time. She gritted her teeth, but she couldn't really ignore it. Now, she could only rely on Yu Wenxue. Luo Qingtong's temperament had changed greatly after she came back. Now that she had caught on to his weakness, he would definitely not be able to keep those two things. But hugging Yu Wenshue's thigh was different. There was no way the Yuan royal family would not help to cover up such a scandal. Luo Qingtong's eyes were blind. Logically speaking, the one who would inherit the marquis's household in the future could only be himself. Those two things should also be his. Thinking of this, Luo Xinning's face darkened. After washing up, she flashed out of her room and left the Luo mansion without leaving any trace. Send a signal to tell the marquis that Luo Xinning is out. Chapter 74. Drunken Goose Pavilion. Luo Laozi invited a group of Dongli Kingdom's royal relatives and heads of noble families to drink here to celebrate Luo Qingtong's safe return. Everyone knew about the marriage between Luo Qingtong and the fifth prince of Tianyu Kingdom. They thought the marriage would be cancelled because of Luo Qingtong's accident. They didn't expect that Luo Qingtong was so lucky to come back alive. At this time, they had to show respect to Luo Laozi. They all came at the invitation. Luo Laozi booked the best private room in Drunken Goose Pavilion. Because it was a private banquet, not many people were invited. But everyone was an important figure in Dongli Kingdom. At this time, someone came to report what happened at the city gate. Luo Laozi was furious. When the banquet was in silence, the door of the outer room was opened from the outside. There was a huge screen between where Old Master Luo and the others were having their banquet, and the private room outside was divided into the inner and outer rooms. When the people inside didn't speak, the people outside didn't know there was someone inside. Just as everyone was wondering who had come in, they suddenly heard an exasperated female voice from outside. Seventh Princess. Didn't I tell you before? I'll take care of everything. Why did you suddenly intervene? What's going on? The female corpse at the city gate, was it you who did it? How do you want me to clean up the mess? Luo Xinning was furious. She pushed the door open and saw a girl sitting beside the screen. She immediately started to make trouble. Luo Qingtong sat beside the screen in the outer room. Her head was slightly lowered, blocking most of her face. Hearing Luo Xinning's voice, she smiled. The fish took the bait. Seventh Princess? The female corpse at the city gate? The people in the banquet were about to scold the person who came in when they heard the news. They paused. They glanced at Luo Laozi secretly and looked at each other. They didn't know what was going on. At this moment, a low female voice suddenly came from outside. What did you do? Luo Xinning, I don't know. Hearing the voice, everyone was shocked. There was someone outside? However, they soon realized what was going on. It was none other than Luo Qingtong. Just now, someone came to report what happened at the Luo family. Luo Qingtong was depressed and embarrassed to stay in the banquet. She said she wanted to calm down outside. Was that her voice? Was she trying to trick Luo Xinming? Thinking of this, everyone's eyes lit up. Something was going on. Everyone's interest was completely aroused. There was a moment of silence at the banquet. They all wanted to see what kind of big news the Luo family was going to reveal. But they didn't expect Luo Xinming's words. You don't know anything? Ha! Yuan Shui, are you going to burn the bridge after crossing it? Luo Xinming's words. Because of what had happened before, she did not notice that there was something wrong with the voice of the person opposite her. And Luo Qingtong's SS. She. Hearing that the other party seemed to want to push everything to her and ignore it, Luo Xinming immediately lost her rationality. You really don't know what I did? I helped you lure Luo Qingtong to the 9 Magi Mountain to break through. I crippled her cultivation and blinded her eyes with poison. I even threw her to a group of men. Chapter 75. Bang! Before Luo Xinming could finish her sentence, the screen in front of her was blown away. Grandfather Luo was like an angry lion. He stood behind the screen with bloodshot eyes and glared at her. Behind him was a group of aristocratic families and nobles who were already dumbfounded. Everyone was completely shocked by the shocking news that Luo Xinming had revealed. Holy shit! What did they just hear? The imperial family of Tianyu teamed up with the concubine's daughter of the second branch of the Luo family to kill Miss Luo? And it was such a vicious scheme? The crowd couldn't believe their ears. But looking at Luo Xinming's shocked expression, they knew that what they heard was true. While everyone was still in shock, Luo Xinming was also shocked by the group of people who appeared behind the screen. These people were all important figures in the Eastern Fence country, and they were all gathered here. And Grandfather Luo was also among them. How could this be? How could they appear in the private room that she and Princess Qi agreed on? Luo Xinming was in disbelief. Just then, she heard Luo Qingtong's voice. Sister. Luo Xinming, you are really my good sister. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and looked at Luo Xinming in disbelief. The most unbelievable part was yet to come. She would take back what they owed the original owner of the body. You. Luo Qingtong? Luo Xinming also saw that the person sitting behind the screen was none other than Luo Qingtong. She went to the wrong place and mistook Luo Qingtong for Princess Qi. But the slip of paper tied to the token clearly said that it was here. Luo Xinming's mind was in a mess. Before she could figure it out, Grandfather Luo stepped out from behind the screen and kicked her hard. Evil creature. Luo Qingtong didn't talk about how she was persecuted in detail. Only today did old Master Luo know how vicious her methods were. No wonder Qingtong's temperament changed so much. After experiencing all this, how could her temperament not change? Master Luo was so angry that he kicked Luo Xinming from the private room on the second floor to the hall below with the power of a peak martial marquis. Bang! Luo Xinming fell to the ground and rolled twice. She couldn't get up for a long time. Grandpa, she looked at old Master Luo, who rushed out of the second floor in anger, and her mind went blank. Until now, she still didn't know how things had turned out this way. She came out after receiving the 7th Princess Secret Guard token. How did she end up in old Master Luo's banquet? At this moment, she saw Luo Qingtong. The latter was dressed in green and looked like a fairy. She was devastatingly beautiful. That simple green robe made her feel like a fairy in the forest. The girl walked out from behind old Luo and looked at Luo Xinming calmly. You failed. Come quickly. Luo Xinming saw her lips move slightly and said silently. These were clearly the words she had seen on the note. It was her. All of this was done by Luo Qingtong. She was the one who set the trap for her. She said that she was in cahoots with the seventh princess. Luo Xianning regained her senses and was instantly enraged. She spat out a mouthful of blood. She had treated Luo Qingtong like a fool for more than 10 years. She did not expect that she would fall into her trap. How could she accept this? Luo Xingning fainted in an instant. What a disgrace. Old Master Luo was still angry. He waved his hand and ordered people to carry Luo Xingning back. He raised his head and looked at the people who had yet to recover from their shock. He shouted angrily, "Everyone has seen what happened today. We can't afford to marry into the Tianyu royal family. We will cancel the engagement immediately. When the time comes, please be my witness." As he spoke, he cupped his fists and left with his men. Chapter 76. The Luo Manor wants to break off the engagement with the Tianyu Empire's royal family. And the target was the fifth prince, who was favored by the heavens. In an instant, this rumor spread throughout Wingay's city and even to distant cities. Among them, there were those who didn't know the truth. But after learning the ins and outs of the matter, they all supported grandfather Luo's actions. They all said that he was a man of courage and wouldn't mistreat his granddaughter for the sake of the Tianyu Empire's royal family. Others said that grandfather Luo was a fool. A son-in-law like the fifth prince couldn't be found even with a lantern. But grandfather Luo actually pushed it out. Someone immediately retorted. This Tianyu Empire's royal family is so vicious to Luo Qingtong, who knows if she'll live long enough to marry him. It's better to break off the engagement as soon as possible. That way, they won't lose a beautiful granddaughter. Regardless of the rumors, grandfather Luo left Eastern Fence Country for the Tianyu Empire to break off the engagement. He received the personal testimonies from the various patriarchs and nobles. Then, he immediately set off without any delay. After returning to the Luo Manor, Luo Qingtong locked herself in grandfather Luo's secret room and flipped through all the soul technique manuals inside. She was very clear about the Luo Manor situation. Don't think that the Marquis Manor is second only to one person in Eastern Fence Country. But that's because of the engagement between Luo Qingtong and Yuan Mo. Once the two families break off the engagement, there will be countless people vying to replace the Luo Manor. Even the Eastern Fence Country's royal family's attitude towards the Luo Manor will change. Grandfather Luo cherished his granddaughter, so he never mentioned these matters in front of her. Not to mention the impact of the annulment on the Luo Manor. Grandfather Luo probably wanted her to take the blame. But how could Luo Qingtong pretend she didn't know? She was the one who wanted to break off the engagement, so naturally she should bear the responsibility. Luo Qingtong lightly tapped the desk and placed the last soul technique manual back on the shelf. Luo Qingtong's eye technique never forgets. As long as she sees it once, she can completely remember it in her mind. The next time he wanted to look at it again, all he had to do was recall it a little. In just a few days' time, Luo Qingtong had already read through almost all of the soul technique manuals in this secret room. He also had a certain understanding of soul masters. A soul master was a powerhouse who was born with a soul imprint. Legend had it that the soul had a spirit. Since the birth of a human, the soul already possessed spirituality. It was just that this kind of spirituality was hidden in the human soul and was extremely difficult to discover and activate. And the soul seal was the symbol of the soul having spirituality. A person with a soul imprint had the talent to become a soul master. Different soul seals would lead to different cultivation directions for soul masters. Some people had a fire spirit seal, so their innate soul was highly compatible with fire. When they cultivated fire attribute cultivation techniques, they would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Once a person with a soul seal successfully activated it and cultivated it, their strength would be much stronger than a martial artist's. After all, a martial artist had to advance to the innate realm, which was the martial king realm, to be able to cultivate a substantial amount of energy. But once a soul master successfully cultivated it, he would be able to display the power of the attribute. This was something that a martial artist couldn't compare with. Luo Qingtong spent 3 days to feel a little inside her body and touched the key to becoming a soul master. Luo Qingtong had a pupil soul seal, which could be considered a special kind of soul seal. Luo Qingtong didn't know how powerful this soul seal was. Chapter 77. At this time, Luo Qingtong realized the benefits of the academy. There were many things that even if one had an inheritance, one might not know. One still had to go to the academy to receive systematic teaching. After all, only a place like the academy could accept hundreds of rivers into the sea and teach a lot of unknown knowledge. It seemed that the trip to Tianyu Branch Academy was very necessary. As Luo Qingtong thought, she closed her eyes and concentrated on feeling the circulation of the soul power in her body. Boom! 7 days later, a muffled sound suddenly came from the secret room she was in. Luo Qingtong opened her eyes. With a whoosh, a blood-colored sword light seemed to flash across her empty eyes. Illusory sword eyes. This sword light seemed to have substance as it flitted across Luo Qingtong's eyes. But only Luo Qingtong knew that this sword light could invade the opponent's consciousness and kill them under the illusory sword. This was probably the legendary Eyes Can Kill. She had just entered the entry level of a soul master, but she actually had such great power. Truly amazing. One had to know that only martial kings could release their chi and form a substantial astral wind that could kill people invisibly. Luo Qingtong was only a 3-star soul master. According to the classification of soul masters, she was still in the entry level. The Luo family's use of eye techniques was not as good as hers, but the development of this soul technique cultivation method made Luo Qingtong quite curious. Feeling her current strength, she was already a 3-star soul master. Luo Qingtong smiled. She could directly break through to soul master on her first cultivation, which made her quite surprised. But thinking of her physique that had been improved by the 2 treasures of the Immortal Slayer Palace, plus her second life, it was understandable that her soul power was stronger and her cultivation speed was faster. Moreover, her own ability was eye techniques. The soul technique cultivation of eye techniques was really as simple as eating and drinking to her. She did not have the unfamiliar and difficult feeling of others who had just started. Okay. We can go out now. Luo Qingtong was preparing to leave the Luo family. How could she not improve her strength? This time, she was preparing to find the medicinal herbs to treat her eyes. Although she had an eye technique, it was inconvenient for her to be blind. What's more, the Luo clan's spirit techniques were completely different in terms of power compared to when they were blind. Currently, it was only a superficial cultivation method. Luo Qingtong's cultivation was still not obvious. However, the further back you looked, the higher the requirements for your eyes. With Luo Qingtong's innate blood-red pupils, once recovered, she would be able to unleash the full power of the Luo family's soul techniques. Under such circumstances, she naturally had to treat her eyes as soon as possible. Just as she was about to leave the secret room, Luo Qingtong suddenly remembered something. She immersed her mind into her body and looked at the 9-story exquisite pagoda. Little Pig was still howling from the heat. Luo Qingtong ignored it and looked at the little divine connecting beast on the other side. The latter was sent into the 9-story exquisite pagoda to be nurtured after the contract was formed. The demon-subduing pagoda only had a punishment function for Little Pig. It moved according to Luo Qingtong's will. The aura inside was extremely beneficial to demonic beasts. The little divine connecting beast had only been nurtured inside for a few days, but its entire body had changed greatly. Luo Qingtong looked at the white fur that grew on its body. It looked like a fox dog. A fluffy long tail curled up behind its back, gently sweeping back and forth. It was very soft and cute. Seeing Luo Qingtong's spirit enter, the little beastie opened its eyes and wriggled towards her. Luo Qingtong smiled and stroked its fur, saying, "I'll call you Snowball from now on." Snowball's existence completely made up for the unhappiness between Luo Qingtong and Little Pig. This was what a contracted beast should look like. Moreover, it would be very powerful after growing up. Unlike that stupid pig, who only knew how to cause trouble for her. The little divine connecting beast was still young, so Luo Qingtong did not bring it out. Instead, she continued to nurture it in the 9-story exquisite pagoda. Luo Qingtong's figure appeared in the study room. Immediately, a guard outside the door reported respectfully. Chapter 78. Missing? Luo Qingtong smiled. When did this happen? She asked indifferently, without a trace of surprise on her face. It was when the Marquis left Drunken Swan House and you entered the secret chamber. The guard knelt in front of Luo Qingtong and reported respectfully. They were Old Master Luo's personal guards. They were extremely loyal and only obeyed Old Master Luo's orders. Of course, Luo Qingtong was also included. Your subordinates are incompetent. The third miss was kidnapped on her way here. We searched the entire Windgaze city but couldn't find any trace of the third miss. Please punish us. The Iron Guard's face was full of guilt. Luo Xianning was kidnapped from his hands. He couldn't fulfill the Marquis and Mrs. orders. He felt very uneasy. These days, he had been guarding outside the study, waiting for Luo Qingtong to come out so he could report to her immediately. It's fine. It's not your fault. There are some people you can't stop. Luo Qingtong naturally knew what was going on. Tianyu's imperial family acted quickly. They took her away as soon as they got the news. Her efforts in getting people to carry Luo Xianning, who had fainted and vomited blood, back to her residence from Drunken Swan Building with great fanfare, were not in vain. She had spread the news to the whole city. Now it seemed that they really did clean up Yuan Shue's mess. Luo Qingtong sneered. This also proved that there were people from Tianyu's imperial family secretly in Windgaze City. But they knew that Yuan Shui wanted to deal with the original Luo Xianning. They also knew that Luo Xianning was bribed and ordered by Yuan Shui, but they didn't stop it. They might even have pushed the matter forward. If not for this, how could Luo Laozi not get any news in the Marquis Mansion's power in the eastern border country and allow the host to be completely schemed against? In the end, they didn't even find the body. Very good. Luo Qingtong's smile was unbridled and enchanting. She had more or less figured out everything she wanted to know. Then, every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. Tianyu's imperial family, let's play. None of them, including Luo Xining, could escape. Her blinded eyes must be filled with blood. Only then was it over. All right, you don't have to worry about this. Luo Qingtong's voice was indifferent. The authority in the manor will be taken over by you all. I'm going out for a while. When Grandpa comes back, tell him not to worry. I'll be back soon. Also, if anyone dares to cause trouble in the Luo clan while I'm away, no matter who they are, kill them without mercy. Her words were filled with killing intent. The engagement between the Luo family and the Yuan family was about to be cancelled. It was inevitable that someone would take the opportunity to cause trouble. Especially those people from the other branches of the Luo clan, none of them were easy to deal with. For the sake of grandfather Luo, Luo Qingtong wouldn't do anything to them. However, if anyone dared to join forces with outsiders to cause trouble in the Luo family, then don't blame her for being impolite. At that time, no matter who it was, they would all die. Luo Qingtong wouldn't let anything happen to the Luo family in her hands. Yes. The Iron Guards accepted the order in unison. Luo Qingtong nodded and walked out of the Luo family's gate. She walked around in a circle and quickly set up a highly concealed offensive and defensive formation around them. It was fine if no one caused trouble in the Luo family. But if anyone dared to cause trouble, they would die miserably. This was the trump card that Luo Qingtong set up for the Luo family to guard against the imperial family of Tianyu. Who knew if they would do something harmful to the Luo family after the engagement was cancelled? Luo Qingtong had to arrange everything properly before she could leave with peace of mind. Chapter 79. Half a month later, in the Blackfield sub-city to the north of Eastern Fence Nation. Luo Qingtong wore a black robe and a cloak that covered most of her face, only revealing a devilish demon mask. She appeared on the outskirts of this city of darkness. This is the Blackfield sub-city. The Blackfield was an extremely special existence within the true Spill continent. It existed in every major country, but it was also independent of them. Every country, whether it was a high-class country, a low-class country, or even a super country like the Tianyu Empire, had its own sub-city. Within the Blackfield, you could do anything you wanted. You could buy anything you wanted. You could even assassinate anyone you wanted. As long as it was a transaction, as long as you could pay the price, there was nothing that the Blackfield didn't dare to do. This was a land of darkness. It was also called the Dark Sanctuary by the cultivators of the true Spill continent. Even the four holy dynasties had no way to deal with it. No one knew who the mastermind behind the Blackfield was. They only knew that his title was Dark, and that he called himself Dark Lord. Within the Blackfield, he was the sole ruler and law. To be able to make the various holy dynasties helpless, and even allow such a completely independent city to appear within their own territory, this Dark Lord's strength was likely to reach the heavens and earth. And now, Luo Qingtong wanted to enter this Blackfield sub-city located within the Eastern Fence Nation. She wanted to find the antidote materials that she needed. After returning from the 9 Magus Mountains without any success, she knew that if she wanted to find the antidote materials she needed, she could only do so in a place like the Blackfield that didn't fear the various holy dynasties and had tentacles that covered the entire continent. But the Blackfield wasn't so easy to enter. Shwa! Luo Qingtong's figure flew up, her sleeves fluttering in the wind. She was like a vigorous hawk as she flew towards the massive main city in front of her. Walala! Outside the Blackfield sub-city, a massive moat appeared in Luo Qingtong's line of sight. This moat was filled with white bones. Some of the cultivators' corpses hadn't been completely corroded yet. They floated along with the waves of the moat. Countless weapons and treasures floated in the moat, but no one dared to go down and pick them up. This moat was also known as the Yellow Spring Path. As long as one fell into it, even a Martial King level powerhouse would be corroded in a second, turning into one of the skeletons. It was said that the Blackfield sub-city had countless cities. The power of the moat was closely related to the country it. This was a black domain city of the Eastern Fence Nation. The moat surrounding the city was only strong enough to corrode Martial Kings. This showed how terrifying Blackfield's strength was. In order to enter the Blackfield, one must have the strength to pass through the Yellow Springs path. At this moment, there were only bare chains on the Yellow Springs path. There was nothing on the chain that one could lean on. When the wind blew, the chains swung violently and clanged against each other from time to time. When Luo Qingtong reached the shore, she heard a series of miserable screams. Someone was unable to stabilize himself and fell into the Yellow Spring. In an instant, he was submerged by the corrosive river water. To pass through the Yellow Springs path, one had to rely on strength, luck, and vision. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. She swept a glance at Huang Quan Dao and was about to get up. Chapter 80. Rumble. A huge gust of wind swept over Luo Qingtong's head from behind. At the same time, a series of exclamations followed. A flying ship. Wow! It's so big. I wonder what grade of magic treasure it is. It's so powerful. Exclamations entered her ears. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked up at the sky. She saw a huge, gorgeous spirit ship sweeping over her head. As the spirit ship flew, it swept up huge waves and each gust of wind had a great impact. The people waiting on the shore to cross the Yellow Spring path were all pushed away by the huge spirit ship's waves. Only Luo Qingtong stood motionless on the spot. Her figure swayed slightly, and the gust of wind that rushed towards her was all neutralized by her. The spirit ship stirred up huge waves as it swept over the Yellow Spring path and directly entered the Blackfield city ahead. When the spirit ship approached, the huge city in the darkness completely opened the city gates and welcomed it in. Sigh. It's so good to have a Blackfield token. An envious voice came from the side. That's right. Look at the grade of this spirit ship, it's at least an Earth-grade spiritual weapon. Even a martial Grand Emperor expert might not be able to have it. I wonder what kind of person is sitting in it. Sigh. It's so good to have power. Let's go. Let's also enter the Black Field and have a good adventure. It's said that the people in the Black Field don't care about your background. As long as you have the corresponding power, they will not hesitate to take you in. Hearing the conversation around her, Luo Qingtong realized that there was such a thing as a Black Field token in the Black Field City. With a Black Field token, one could directly enter the Black Field City without going through the Yellow Spring Path outside. No wonder the people in the spirit ship didn't need to go through the Yellow Spring Path. In that case, this Black Field token was really a good thing. With it, it wouldn't be so troublesome to enter and exit the Black Field in the future. That spirit boat was not bad either. He wondered where he had bought it. Luo Qingtong knew that this kind of spirit boat was specially used to transport troops from various countries. At the same time, it was also the exclusive vehicle for the nobles and experts of various countries. It looked really cool. In Luo Qingtong's previous life, everything was the best in the 24th century. She didn't even know how many luxurious cars she owned. At this moment, looking at the spirit boat, her heart itched again. If there's a chance, I'll get one. This way, it would be much more convenient to travel. However, this kind of aerial spirit boat was generally forbidden in the military. If one wanted to own it, strength alone was not enough. They also needed to have a certain status. Otherwise, the various countries will not allow you to pass through. In fact, I won't even let you buy it. He wondered if the Black Field medallion had such a privilege. If there was, Luo Qingtong would definitely get her hands on one. Whoosh! Her figure swept forward. After the spirit boat passed through, she directly rushed towards the moat in front of her. With a few leaps, under the guidance of her eyes, she easily passed through the chains that even Martial King experts had to be on guard. She was not affected by the wind and waves of the river after the spirit boat passed through. Looking at her figure, waves of exclamations sounded behind her again. Isn't this black-robed person too powerful? She passed through the Yellow Spring Path so easily. When did the Yellow Spring Path outside the Black Field City become so easy to pass through? Could it be the benefit of passing through the spirit boat? Some people thought so and also rushed up. However, halfway through, they screamed and fell down. At this moment, they finally understood that it wasn't that the Yellow Spring Path had become easy to pass, but that Luo Qingtong was too powerful. Looking at Luo Qingtong's movements, no one would have thought that she was only a martial master. Furthermore, she had just broken through. Chapter 81. Senior brother, teacher is really amazing. This spirit boat really travels thousands of miles in a day. We came from the Lifeng country in the west and arrived at the Black Field sub-city of the Eastern Fence country in just a few hours. And we don't need to go through the Yellow Spring Path. Those people from the Black Field even saluted us. Haha. No matter which Black Field city we went to, the people there were very arrogant. This Black Field token is really useful. Senior brother, teacher is really good to you. A group of people got off the spirit boat and walked into the city while talking and laughing, looking very excited. This group of people were the new students of the Sacred Academy who came out with Yu Wenma to do things. Hearing their praise and envy, Yu Wenma felt good in his heart, but on the surface, he smiled faintly. When all of you junior brothers become stronger, teacher will also think highly of you. Yu Wenma's words were very appropriate, and everyone felt very comfortable in their hearts. They smiled and complimented each other. By then, senior brother will definitely be even more powerful. Not everyone can be accepted as teacher's last disciple after entering the Sacred Academy. Yes, we are definitely not as good as senior brother. But speaking of which, this Black Field token is really rare. I heard that teacher only coincidentally helped the people of the Black Field to get this lowest level Black Field token of the Black Field by chance. If it's a higher level silver or gold Black Field token, you will have even greater authority in the Black Field city. Yes. I heard that if it's a platinum Blackfield token, you can freely mobilize the power of any Blackfield city other than the Blackfield main city. Not only that, you can go to any Blackfield city in the future and be given a grand welcome. Even the city lord will have to personally welcome you. As the group was talking, they suddenly heard a loud rumbling sound outside. Then, above the entire Blackfield city, the forbidden sky barrier opened and the main city flew up. At the same time, the aura of countless powerhouses flew up from every corner of the Blackfield city. Among them, there were both martial artists and soul masters. What was different about them was that they were all wearing clothes that only Blackfield residents would wear, and their bodies were decorated with the Blackfield's totem. The aura of the person at the front was completely different from the others. Astonishingly, it was much higher. This is Blackfield's Castellan? Countless people were alarmed by this commotion. When they looked up and saw this scene in the sky, their eyes instantly widened. It was actually the Blackfield city lord himself. Move out of the city. Could it be that the owner of the legendary platinum token had come to visit? No, that's not right. Someone pointed at the slowly opening gates around the main city in shock. Open all 9 gates. It was Ming Zun. The supreme of the Blackfield is here. While everyone was still in shock, an extremely beautiful spirit boat suddenly appeared in the sky. Previously, Yu Wenma and the others had also arrived on a spirit boat, causing everyone to exclaim in surprise. However, at this moment, even the most blind person had to admit that compared to this spirit boat, Yu Wenma and the other spirit boat was a pile of scrap metal. It was a good thing that they had already parked their spirit boats. Otherwise, they would have been completely crushed by this gorgeous spirit boat that was both elegant and murderous, sharp and magnificent. As that spirit boat appeared, the entire Blackfield sub-city was in an uproar. Chapter 82. In the spiritual boat, Bei Qing's face twitched when he felt the burning gaze from below almost penetrating the boat and stripping them naked. Master, I didn't do it on purpose. He looked at the man sitting on the throne in the middle of the spiritual boat with a sad face. He didn't know how he had touched the light switch. Yi Qianxian looked at him coldly. Then, he flicked his sleeves and flew out of the flying boat. Go to the Heavenly Punishment Court to receive your punishment when you return. Yes, Master. Master. Bei Qing hurriedly responded and followed him. A group of people flew out of the flying boat. As for the huge, luxurious flying boat, it also disappeared in an instant. Sumeru Space. That flying boat actually carried the legendary Sumeru Space. No wonder he is Ming Zun. What a big deal. It is said that only the royal family of the Sacred Dynasty has such a treasure inheritance with Sumeru Space. Ming Zun has it too. And it is a spiritual flying boat. Ming Zun is probably the only person in the world who has such a peerless flying boat with Sumeru Space. Luo Qingtong heard the exclamations around her and looked up at the sky. Unfortunately, Ming Zun's figure flashed in the air and disappeared without a trace. Everyone stared with their eyes wide open. They could only see a few rays of light. They couldn't even see what the person on the flying boat looked like, whether he was round or flat. Luo Qingtong opened her eyes and could only see 3 figures. A silver-clothed figure with black hair flashed in front of her. In an instant, it disappeared from her field of vision. The other 2 figures, one in green and one in blue, were on his left and right. They should be Ming Zun's guards. The people in this world were really perverted. Luo Qingtong looked on gloomily as they disappeared from her sight. She tried her best to see the face of Ming Zun, but just like the man from Nine Magi Mountain, she could only see a blurry silhouette. Were all powerful people like this? Did they like to pretend to be mysterious? It was fine if they were ugly, but the man from Nine Magi Mountain was so handsome, but he wanted to hide it. Beauty should be shown in front of people to benefit society. Just as Luo Qingtong was thinking about this, she suddenly felt a sharp gaze coming from the sky. It was in the direction where Underworld Zun had disappeared. Her heart suddenly tightened, and she quickly lowered her head. That gaze swept across her surroundings and then retracted in an instant. Yi Qianxian was full of doubts. He had clearly felt that someone was spying on him, but when he looked carefully, there was nothing. Was it his imagination? But why did it feel so similar to that woman? Could it be that she was also in this Blackfield sub-city? If that was the case, then it wouldn't have been a waste of time for him to come here personally. Schwa. The figures of Yi Qianxian and the others completely disappeared from the sky. The experts in the Blackfield sub-city also descended from the sky. Luo Qingtong patted her chest. Oh my god, I was almost discovered. Other than that man from Nine Magi Mountain, this was the second person that Luo Qingtong couldn't see through. Should she say that he was indeed worthy of being called the Supreme of the Blackfield? That man from Nine Magi Mountain was the strongest man that Luo Qingtong had ever seen. More than half of his meridians were broken, but he was still able to beat the adult divine connecting beast to the point that it couldn't even retaliate. This Ming Zun was actually on par with him. No wonder the people from the four great sacred dynasties were helpless against him, and he was able to establish such a huge dark force like the Blackfield. Luo Qingtong patted her chest as she continued to walk into the city. In the Blackfield sub-city headquarters, in the city lord's residence, Yi Qianxian landed and looked at the city lord standing respectfully at the side. Chapter 83. My lord, I've searched through hundreds of high-class countries and thousands of middle-class countries around Dongli country, but I didn't find the woman you're talking about, the governor of the Blackfield sub-city hurriedly replied when he heard Yi Qianxian's question. You didn't find her? Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes. The hazy mist covering his face instantly dispersed, revealing a face wrapped in a dark golden mask. The mask covered most of his face, leaving only a little bit of his smooth chin and a pair of thin lips. Under the mask, Yi Qianxian's eyes turned cold. You've checked everything? My lord, we've checked everything. What about the Tianyu Empire? You didn't find her either? The Tianyu Empire hasn't sent any news yet, but according to their feedback, they shouldn't have found her either. Then let's investigate further. Expand the scope. I must find her. Yi Qianxian's voice was cold. He had personally come to this place for Luo Qingtong. He didn't expect that he couldn't find that woman even with the Blackfield's intelligence network. Who exactly was she? Also, filter through all the information of those who entered Dongli country before and after the mutation on the Nine Magi Mountain. He didn't believe that he couldn't find that woman. Yes. The governor of the Blackfield sub-city looked bitter. No matter how low-class Dongli country was, it was still a country. There were more than tens of thousands of people entering and exiting the country every day. Not to mention how many people entered and exited the Nine Magi Mountain before and after the mutation. He thought about how much work he had to do just to find a woman whose name and appearance he didn't even know. He only knew that she was blind but could see. Her cultivation level was low but she was very strong. She might even be a blacksmith or a spiritual array master. The governor of the Blackfield sub-city felt that this wasn't very reliable. My lord, didn't you notice that there were many contradictions in this information? How could someone be blind and still be able to see? Her cultivation level was low but she was very strong. She might even be a spiritual array master. The city lord of the Blackfield city went out with a bitter face. When Bei Qing and Feng Yu saw this, they looked at Yi Qianxian and asked, Master, you haven't found him yet? No. Yi Qianxian frowned. With that woman's ability, he thought it would be easy to find her. She didn't expect that there was no news of her in the high-ranking countries. Could it be that he was wrong? She might not be from the Empire of Qin. Were they from other sacred dynasties? Let's look for her again. The woman you mentioned is so weak. She might have been buried in a high-class country or above. Or perhaps it was deliberately hidden by someone. Master, didn't you say that someone poisoned her with poison? That was not a poison that an ordinary person could get their hands on. Her news might have been intentionally covered up by someone. Feng Yu analyzed. Yes. Master, let's keep looking. We will definitely find her. But Master, do you really feel that your meridians are getting better? Bei Qing asked. She couldn't believe it. They were also very worried about their master's internal injuries. However, they couldn't do anything about it since they were born with it. All these years, they had been trying their best to find a way to cure their master's injuries. It was the same when their master went to the Nine Magi Mountain alone in Dongli country. However, they did not expect that the information they had painstakingly gathered was completely useless. A young girl that their master had met by chance had actually alleviated the injuries in his body. Chapter 84. It's indeed better, although it's not obvious. But, it's definitely better. Yi Qianren was sitting on the main seat in the hall. She raised her hand and rubbed the armrest. Suddenly, she released the aura she had been restraining. Boom! Feng Yu and Bei Qing were forced to take a few steps back by the aura released by Yi Qianxian. This. The two of them were shocked. Feng Yu's eyes lit up and she exclaimed, Master. The aura you're releasing. It's much stronger than before, right? Am I right? Yi Qianren narrowed her eyes at them. After my main meridians were repaired, my body's ability to withstand power has increased. If it was before, my meridians would have been broken by now. Yi Qianxian's voice was calm as he looked into the distance. Not only that, my meridians haven't been injured for the past half a month. Although I don't know how long they can last, there's no doubt that they're longer than before. Master, don't worry. We'll definitely find her. Even if we have to kidnap her, we'll kidnap her and bring her to you. Bei Qing couldn't hold herself back anymore. It's not just a little bit better. It's much better than before. Others might not know, but they, who served their master, knew that the interval between their master's meridians breaking was getting shorter and shorter. His meridian's ability to withstand power was also getting weaker and weaker. Their master hadn't used his full strength in a long time. They were more anxious than anyone else as they watched their master's body getting weaker and weaker day by day. Now that there was someone who could repair their master's meridians and improve his condition, they had to find this person even if they had to dig 3 feet into the ground. Yi Qianxian replied in a low voice. Then, he thought of Luo Qingtong's crafty and evil character and paused for a moment. Then, he ordered, This woman is as cunning as a fox. You may not be able to deal with her. Once you find her, just inform me. Yi Qianxian felt uncomfortable when he thought of how Luo Qingtong might deal with Bei Qing and Feng Yu the same way she dealt with him. Pass down this order. After finding her, no one is allowed to touch her. That woman, I will personally capture her. Yes. Although they didn't think that Luo Qingtong, a mere martial mentor, could pose any threat to them. Even if she was 100 times stronger, she might not be a match for them. However, Bei Qing and Feng Yu naturally complied with their master's order. Thinking about it, it was indeed more convenient for the master to make a move. What if the subordinates were careless and killed someone? Bei Qing thought carelessly. Feng Yu, on the other hand, seemed to have understood something as he looked at his master with a subtle gaze. He thought of the bite mark on his master's lips. Master, he couldn't be tempted, right? Just like Bei Qing, Feng Yu didn't believe that someone could escape from her master's clutches again and still dare to do such a disgraceful thing. It couldn't be that master, he deliberately condoned it, right? The more she thought about it, the more complicated her mood became. He didn't know that his master had such an interest. Yi Qianxian didn't know what his subordinates were thinking at all. He got another secret prescription this time, but he didn't know whether it was useful for his injury. Fortunately, his meridians were stronger now, so he could give it a try. By the way, he was waiting for news from the branch city of the Tianyu Empire. Chapter 85. This auction house was the most bustling and lively place in the Black Field. The moment Luo Qingtong entered, she was eagerly received. Hello, guest, may I know what you need? The auction house's staff warmly welcomed her. In the spacious hall, there were over 100 staff like this. I want to sell medicine. Luo Qingtong's voice had undergone a special voice change. Her low and hoarse voice revealed a unique vicissitudes of life. Her exposed hands had also been specially modified. On her loose skin, the veins were exposed, revealing a kind of twilight old age. Luo Qingtong did not intend to reveal her identity when she came to the Black Field this time. Therefore, she purposely created a mysterious old man. In this way, others would not doubt her ability and the Ming Zun behind the scenes would not be able to find out her true identity. Luo Qingtong was fully aware of how coveted her eye technique was. She would not easily reveal her true identity in front of others. And that Ming Zun's strength was so valiant and powerful. She had to guard against him. Sell medicine? When the staff heard this, he did not dare to be negligent. I wonder what medicine old Mr. wants to sell. Is it medicinal herbs or medicinal liquid? Ask your manager to come over. You can't make the decision. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. That faint voice, after being modified by her hoarse voice, instantly raised her image infinitely. Immediately, the waiter treated her as a hidden expert and invited her to a private room. Old mister, please wait a moment. I will immediately ask the manager to come over. That staff said as he ran out like a wisp of smoke. When he was about to leave, he almost stumbled and fell. Medicinal liquid. This old man was here to sell medicinal liquid. Who knows, he might be a respected alchemist. Although he did not see the alchemist badge of the other party, but generally, this kind of alchemist was eccentric and arrogant. It was normal for him to not like to show his alchemist badge in front of others. Thinking of this, the worker ran even faster. After a while, a steward pushed open the door to Luo Qingtong's private room. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, sir. The steward's tone was very respectful and courteous. May I know what kind of medicinal liquid you're selling? Rank. Xianyuan heart fluid. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. The medicinal liquid she was selling was extracted from the holy healing spring that Yi Qianxian had been soaking in. Although Lu Qingtong couldn't find a suitable substitute for most of the herbs, she still managed to refine the corresponding medicinal liquid according to the medicinal properties of a small portion of the herbs and her own concoction. Although the effect was definitely not as good as the man's healing liquid, it was enough for Luo Qingtong. She didn't know what the grade of this medicinal liquid was. Luo Qingtong didn't know much about this different world's alchemist profession. After all, the original owner didn't have these memories in her mind. She could only rely on herself to slowly explore. The effect of this medicinal liquid is on meridian injuries. As long as it's a meridian injury, no matter how serious it is, as long as it's taken, it will immediately heal. It can be used to counteract the backlash of using a forbidden technique. After taking it, it's equivalent to having an extra life. Even in a situation where the strength is similar, it can kill the enemy. Chapter 86. Black Origin Heart Medicinal Liquid. It was actually a medicinal liquid used to treat meridian injuries. And from the other party's words, this medicinal liquid's grade was not low. One had to know that medicinal liquids used to treat meridian injuries were very rare. Meridians were related to a cultivator's cultivation. Once the meridians were damaged, the cultivator's strength would be greatly reduced. What's more, the cultivator's realm would continuously drop, becoming a cripple. Especially when using forbidden techniques, although it could increase one's strength by 1-fold or even more than 10 times in a short period of time, the backlash after using it was extremely serious. An overly strong burst of power would tear the cultivator's meridians. How many people had used forbidden techniques in desperate situations, and their strength had been greatly reduced? And with Luo Qingtong's medicinal liquid, what were they afraid of? This was not just a life. This was an excellent trump card. With it, cultivators could even challenge those of a higher cultivation level at will, without fear of any repercussions. This portion of medicinal liquid was simply too precious. The steward did not dare to make a decision and hurriedly reported the matter to the head steward. Oh. A medicinal liquid specially used to treat meridian injuries? When the head steward heard this, he immediately put down the matter at hand and hurried over. At the same time, there was also an earth stage alchemist from the black market auction house. These alchemists were the standard of the black field auction house. This was also the reason why people flocked to the black field like a flock of ducks. The status of an earth stage alchemist was very honorable. Even in the main cities of the 4 great sacred dynasties, they were the target of countless people's pursuit. But in the black field, every black field auction house had such an earth stage alchemist overseeing it. While identifying medicinal liquids, they also provided alchemy services for the people in the black field auction house. In the whole world, only the black field had such a big hand. Even the 4 great sacred dynasties could not compare. The earth stage alchemist from the black field auction house had a very arrogant expression. He didn't believe that a small and remote country like Eastern Fence Country would have such a powerful figure coming to sell medicinal liquid. Even if the other party's medicinal liquid really had the effect of healing meridian injuries, he was afraid that it was only a low-level human-level medicinal liquid. At most, it could only benefit low-level cultivators below the Martial King level. There was no need for him to do anything. However, according to the Blackfield's rules, as long as there was an effective and precious liquid for sale, they had to sell it. That Earth-tier alchemist was unable to disobey the Blackfield's rules and could only come forward with a cold face and the chief steward. "You're the one who wants to sell the medicinal liquid? Hand it over." His face was filled with impatience. This Earth-tier alchemist had just received an order from above to refine medicine for the High Lord. This was a rare opportunity to make a great leap forward, so he didn't want to bother with other miscellaneous matters. Towards Luo Qingtong, who interrupted her refining, she also didn't have the slightest good face. "Stop acting all mysterious." Looking at Luo Qingtong's attire, he raised his hand and took the liquid. With a sneer, he began to identify the liquid. However, as soon as he opened the bottle, his expression suddenly changed. This was an earth-tier medicinal liquid? A strong medicinal power instantly spread out in front of him. The earth-tier alchemist's hands trembled fiercely, and he almost dropped the bottle in his hands. He hurriedly grabbed it and carefully used his mental power to identify the medicinal power within. The more he identified it, the more his hands trembled. This was not an ordinary earth-tier medicinal liquid. It was a top-grade earth-tier medicinal liquid. No, it was a quasi-heaven-tier medicinal liquid. Heavens! Chapter 87. As an Earth-rank alchemist, Master Lu did not expect that there was actually someone who could achieve perfect separation when refining medicinal liquids. Inside this set of medicinal liquid, there was actually no impurities at all. This already completely exceeded his imagination. This set of medicinal liquid already surpassed the level of Earth-rank medicinal liquids, reaching the level of quasi-heaven rank. Although its essence was still an Earth-rank medicinal liquid, the medicinal strength and effects in reality completely surpassed this level. It was sufficient to compare with ordinary heaven-rank medicinal liquids. Such a medicinal liquid, even heavenly alchemists who were highly revered by the world and revered by them, these alchemists, might not be able to refine it too. This must be a transcendent grade medicinal liquid that the alchemist himself could only possibly refine under a lucky coincidence, his spirit entering heaven and earth, entering a kind of profound realm. Bang! 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 Master Lu's hand held the porcelain bottle, his heart beating rapidly. He could tell that the person who refined this medicinal liquid was not a true alchemist. Because in this medicinal liquid, many refining methods that alchemists should have grasped, the other party did not use them. But the other party was abnormally proficient and exquisite regarding the extraction and refinement of the medicinal liquid. This kind of exquisiteness even surpassed the level of heavenly alchemists that he had seen before, reaching a kind of realm that people found hard to imagine. This was a figure with unusual talent, a self-taught genius. Master Lu guessed that the other party's alchemy level was not high. It was just that under a lucky coincidence, he successfully refined this bottle of medicinal liquid. In the alchemist circle, there was a legend called extreme realm circulating. It was said that when alchemists were fully focused and their spirit entered heaven and earth, they would obtain the blessing of heaven and earth destiny. At that time, alchemists refining medicine was akin to having divine assistance. They could easily refine transcendent-grade medicinal liquids and medicinal pills that surpassed their own grade. Under this kind of situation, if alchemists could advance, they could instantly directly raise their own alchemy level to the peak of the next level. But this kind of realm could be encountered by chance and not sought. They had only heard before and had never witnessed it before. Could it be that this old man entered that kind of extreme realm state under such a lucky coincidence, and that was how he was able to refine such a medicinal liquid? Thinking, Master Lu's heart suddenly pounded rapidly. If this was the case, this bottle of transcendent-grade medicinal liquid, he might be able to take it for himself? Master Lu knew the preciousness of transcendent-grade medicinal liquids. Such a bottle of transcendent-grade medicinal liquid, even a heavenly alchemist might not be able to refine it. More importantly, this bottle of medicinal liquid was used to treat meridian injuries. He thought of the prescription that the High Lord had asked him to refine. It was also used to treat meridian injuries. If he could present this bottle of supreme-grade medicinal liquid to the Honorable Lord, he would be able to enjoy endless benefits in the future. Thinking of this, Master Lu's heart beat even faster. He clenched the porcelain bottle in his hand and instantly made a decision in his heart. The grade of this medicinal liquid seems to be pretty good. Earth rank high level. When he said that, he specially looked at Luo Qingtong's expression. Seeing that she did not have any reaction to the grade he mentioned, he was instantly even more certain of his guess. This person was indeed able to refine this bottle of medicinal liquid by chance. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so clueless about the grade of this medicinal liquid. As he thought about it, he was pleasantly surprised and couldn't wait any longer. However, as for what kind of medicinal effect it is, I still need to examine it carefully. You guys wait here for a while. As Master Lu spoke, he took the bottle of medicinal liquid and walked out. Master Lu, what's going on? Is this customer's medicinal liquid really inconsistent with the actual effect? At the end of his words, there was a hint of sternness in his voice. To be able to become the chief steward of an auction house, which one of them wasn't a shrewd person? Luo Qingtong's sudden performance made him suspicious. However, he found it hard to believe. Being looked at with suspicion, Master Lu's heart was also very angry. He originally thought that Luo Qingtong would swallow this loss in silence, or find him to make trouble. He had ways to deal with both of these. He didn't expect the other party's actions to be so unexpected. She actually threw away her own medicinal liquid and called it trash. How do I know what's going on? What do you mean by questioning me like this? Are you suspecting me? He sneered, I'm a dignified Earth-step pharmacist. Do I need to covet her medicinal liquid? Ridiculous. Chapter 89. After Luo Qingtong left the auction house, she went straight to the northwest of the Blackfield sub-city. Just now at the auction house, she could have exposed the fact that the other party had swapped her medicine. But was that necessary? In the end, the other party was from the auction house. Luo Qingtong didn't expect the people from the auction house to be fair and just. Who knew if the steward had colluded with the other party? Luo Qingtong still liked to solve problems in her own way. Putting your hopes on others was the most stupid thing. If she had done this in the 24th century, she wouldn't know how many times she would have been betrayed. Thinking of the past, Luo Qingtong's smile became more enchanting and wanton. In this world, she didn't trust anyone. She only believed in herself. Without the auction house as a channel, she could still spread the name of her evil Dr. Ghost Eye. And it would spread faster than cooperating with the auction house. Louder. As for Master Lu, Luo Qingtong just smiled and didn't say anything. Blackfield Sub-City, Bloody Arena. This was a killing paradise. This was a bloodthirsty hell. Here, there was the excitement and blood that people needed. All of the negative emotions of human beings were released to the fullest. Kill. 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 Luo Qingtong had just walked into the arena when she heard a wild roar filled with boundless murderous intent. It rushed out from inside like an avalanche. The moment the vermilion door opened, the earth-shattering screams from inside almost overturned the dome of the arena. Every city in the Black region had a bloody arena, allowing the people who entered to vent their anger and killing intent. In this arena, people could enter voluntarily, or they could put the slaves they bought into it and fight to the death to win the money that others bet. That's right, this was not only the biggest fighting arena, but it was also a huge casino. But other casinos bet on cards, here, they bet on life and death. As soon as Luo Qingtong entered, she was surrounded by maids wearing revealing clothes. "Sir, which table would you like to bet on?" A charming, tall, and half-exposed maid leaned towards Luo Qingtong with a seductive look on her face. "From the first to the 9th tables, there must be something you like." "Ah!" At this point, she suddenly screamed. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she let go of her hand that was reaching for her lapel and wanted to touch her chest. "I don't like other people touching me, she said in a low and hoarse voice and directly threw him away. "Get someone who knows the rules." "Yes. Yes." The maid covered her broken wrist, and another maid took her place. Because of Luo Qingtong's ruthlessness, the maid's actions were very well behaved. She didn't dare to rub against Luo Qingtong's body. "Dear customer, what kind of betting method do you prefer?" "I want the most exciting one." Luo Qingtong looked in the direction of the 9th platform. "Then I'll choose that." The battle on the 9th platform was the most tragic. Thus, all the people that entered this combat arena were heavily injured. The more serious the injury, the more generous the reward after the battle. In this kind of situation, in order to survive, in order to win, the battle here was much more tragic and bloody than the other places. When Luo Qingtong looked over, the battle on the platform had already reached its end, and the outcome was about to be decided. An incomparably tall and sturdy man was pressed down by a thin and small man. Although he struggled with all his might, he couldn't break free. The thin and small man's strength was not stronger than the tall and sturdy man. In fact, he was much weaker than the tall and sturdy man. But the tall and sturdy man's injuries were too serious. All the meridians in his body were torn, and there was a big hole in his abdomen. His left and right arms were almost cut off. Even his legs, which were the only things he could move, were now bleeding profusely. Chapter 90. Mother. Mother, Luo Qingtong heard his lips moving slightly, constantly calling out to something in a low voice. That pair of eyes looked slack, then focused again, then slack, then focused again. It was as if there was some obsession supporting him, making him unwilling to die just like that. TSK. This fool on the stage is really struggling to the point that people can't bear to look at him. That's right. We've been through blood and blood, who hasn't seen life and death? But this idiot looked so King scary that people couldn't bring themselves to do it. But no matter what, he's dead for sure this time. AI. Who told him to be so stubborn that he didn't listen to anyone's advice? He's already injured like that, he might not even be able to survive even if he lies down and doesn't move, yet he still wants to fight. Look at him now. He's giving away his life and money for nothing. No one in the entire arena bet on him to win. What's the use of him fighting like this? His mother is already dead, there's no saving him. This silly boy. That's right, that skinny little guy is also sinister, deliberately using these words to provoke him. He wants to take his life with serious injuries and fight for a bright future. We can be considered as not being righteous. But we're not that wicked. This time, this blockhead is dead for sure. Faint sighs could be heard from all around. The atmosphere on the 9th arena wasn't as wild and bloodthirsty as the other arenas, and it was even somewhat solemn. Dead for sure. Luo Qingtong listened to these people's words, raised her eyebrows slightly, and raised her hand to point at the stage. All right, it's him. I bet on him to win, 100,000 gold. WH. What? That maid was just about to record down Luo Qingtong's bet when she heard this, and instantly thought that she had misheard. Guessed. Guessed, what did you say? I said I bet on him to win, it's that blockhead. 100,000 gold. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. You've recorded it? Record. Record it. But guessed, he's about to die. That maid couldn't help but say after recording down Luo Qingtong's bet. 100,000 gold on a person about to die to win. Did this guest have too much money to burn? The maid couldn't figure it out. He won't die. The moment the maid finished speaking, Luo Qingtong's figure shot out. With her around, how could the other party die? As long as he didn't want to die, even if he was at the gates of hell, she would pull him back. Once someone was in her hands, unless she didn't want to save them, unless the other party wanted to die, she would definitely be able to save them. Shwa. Luo Qingtong landed beside the arena. Do you want to live? Her voice entered the ears of the tall and strong man. A trace of doubt appeared on the latter's face, then he nodded vigorously. Yes. His voice was loud and clear, attracting everyone's attention. They didn't know what this blockhead was up to. But no matter what he did, he was dead for sure this time. If you want to, then kill him. I'll save you. As Luo Qingtong spoke, a stream of energy instantly shot out from her fingertips and hit the Baihui acupoint on the top of the blockhead's head. With a boom, the tall and strong man only felt the blood in his body boiling. Roar. He let out a roar that sounded like both a man and a beast. In the next second, his figure suddenly exploded, and in an instant, he threw off the thin and small man on top of him. Ka! The blockhead flew up, caught up with the thin and small man's figure, and viciously twisted his head off. Bang! Chapter 91. Pang, pang, pang. When he fell down, the tall and strong man's body exploded into a mist of blood. In an instant, the man's body no longer had a trace of a human. Everyone in the stands looked at this scene in shock. Forbidden technique. This blockhead is purely looking for death. With such a serious injury, he still dares to use a forbidden technique to forcibly stimulate his strength? Even a person who is unharmed may not be able to withstand the backlash of using a forbidden technique. Is he crazy? Exclamations came one after another. Everyone in the stands was dumbfounded. Everyone thought that the blockhead would lose, but they didn't expect that he still had the strength to use a forbidden technique to kill his opponent. He won. Luo Qingtong looked at the maid behind her who was responsible for recording the bet, raised her eyebrows and said, "Tell your manager to prepare the money." In the entire bloody arena, only Luo Qingtong bet on the blockhead to win. The odds were so high that it was enough to shock people. It broke the record of the bloody arena for so many years. Luo Qingtong's 100,000 gold instantly increased by more than 100 times. No, guessed. The maid was also stunned by the result of the reversal on the stage. Who would have thought that Luo Qingtong just bet on the blockhead to win, and the latter really killed his opponent? But this wasn't enough. She came back to her senses and explained to Luo Qingtong, "Customer, in order for him to win, he must be able to survive. If both sides perish together, the winner would be the Zhuang family. He is dead." Before these 3 words could be said, Luo Qingtong's figure had already landed on the stage in front of her. "I said, he won't die." Luo Qingtong's voice faintly floated from the front. The maid stared at her as she took out a bottle of liquid medicine from her bosom and fed it to the blockhead on the stage. Then she raised her hand and poked him a few times. They watched as Luo Qingtong lowered her head and whispered something in the blockhead's ear. Then, the tall and strong man who was obviously on his last breath and could go see the king of hell at any time stood up shakily. He stood up. F***CK. With such a serious injury, he still forcibly used a forbidden technique. Under such a backlash, it was already God's mercy that he didn't die. That blockhead could still stand up. Everyone was shocked. The whole area around the 9th arena was silent. This kind of silence seemed to be contagious as it spread in all directions. When the people on the other arenas found that the people on their side of the stands were not watching their fight, but watching the 9th arena, the entire bloody arena was immersed in a very strange atmosphere. Everyone looked as if they had seen a ghost as they stared at the blockhead who had crawled up from the ground. The other party's movements were so clean and efficient. The big hole in his abdomen was still there, but there was no more bleeding. What the hell is going on? What did the black-robed man say to that blockhead? It had such an effect. Could it be some kind of resurrection incantation? Some people couldn't help but think. Even more people shifted their burning gazes to the porcelain bottle in Luo Qingtong's hand. Obviously, it was that bottle of medicinal liquid that allowed that big blockhead to live. What level of liquid medicine was that, to be able to resurrect the dead? Chapter 92. Being stared at by countless people, Luo Qingtong's expression didn't change at all. She had long been accustomed to the feeling of being the center of attention. In her previous life, wherever she went, there would be a frenzy of people chasing after her. The bottle of medicinal liquid in Luo Qingtong's hand was the Xianyuan heart liquid that she had previously refined. Master Lu thought that Luo Qingtong had successfully refined that one bottle, but he didn't know that she had a lot of this medicinal liquid in her hands. After all, as long as you dilute one bottle, you can get dozens of bottles. Luo Qingtong didn't lack medicinal liquid in her hands, so after that bottle of medicinal liquid was replaced, she simply threw it away. How do you feel? She looked at the tall and strong man beside her. It still hurts. The blockhead scratches his head with a simple and honest face, but it's much better than before. Before, I thought I was going to die. As he spoke, he smiled foolishly. But he didn't know that he didn't think he was going to die, but he really almost died. If it weren't for Luo Qingtong, he would be dead. It's normal to feel pain. After all, your external injuries haven't healed yet. The bottle of Xianyuan heart liquid in Luo Qingtong's hand can only heal his internal injuries. That is his fatal wound. As for the external injuries, Luo Qingtong has temporarily stopped the bleeding. Others saw that the huge wound on his abdomen is no longer bleeding, but Luo Qingtong used her eye technique to seal all the blood vessels around the wound. There won't be excessive bleeding, so naturally there won't be any danger to his life. After going down, he just needs to recuperate. Now, can you announce that he won? Luo Qingtong looks down at the completely stunned referee below and raises her eyebrows. Yes, that referee comes back to his senses and rushes to the stage to carefully examine the tall and strong man's body. He finds that although his injuries are still very serious, his life is no longer in danger. He immediately announces in a trembling voice. Arena number 9, Battle 132, Chu Lingfeng wins. Hua. Along with his voice, the silence of the entire arena was broken. Everyone stood up with a swoosh, and the gazes they looked at arena number 9 were filled with disbelief. That blockhead who was bound to die, really didn't die? He survived? It wasn't their illusion? Everyone looks at Luo Qingtong with burning eyes, and then desperately yells to bid, wanting to buy the medicinal liquid in her hand. He had even forgotten about losing the bet. In the hysterical shouting and bidding, Luo Qingtong looks at the bloody arena's upper echelon's attention, and the corner of the bloody arena's attention. From then on, the name of evil Dr. Ghost Eye resounded throughout the entire Black Region sub-city. As for the Black Region auction house, after Luo Qingtong left, Master Lu pretended to be in seclusion and entered the extreme state in order to prevent further complications. Then, he excitedly brought the bottle of Xianyuan heart liquid and went to see Yi Qianren. This is a medicinal liquid that this subordinate has occasionally refined. It's a blessing. When this subordinate was refining the medicinal liquid, he inexplicably entered the extreme state and refined this bottle of quasi-heaven stage medicinal liquid. Lord, please take a look. This bottle of medicinal liquid is mainly used to treat meridian injuries. Master Lu can't hide his excitement. He purposely emphasized his last sentence. Quasi-heaven stage medicinal liquid? On the main seat in the lobby, Yi Qianxian's dark golden mask flashes past the porcelain bottle in his hand. Bei Qing steps forward, takes it in her hand, and presents it to Yi Qianxian. Master. Yi Qianxian raises his hand to take the bottle of medicinal liquid. Just as he opens it, his eyebrows suddenly twitches. Chapter 93. Does this mean that you were the one who made this medicine? He looked at the man below. Yes. Master Lu tried his best to suppress the excitement on his face. Yes, I was the one who made it. Who gave you the formula? Yi Qianxian leaned back and tapped his right hand lightly on the armrest. Under the dark gold mask, the man's expression was unreadable. Luo Qingtong's formula was derived from his healing medicine. How could Yi Qianxian not recognize it? Although Luo Qingtong had improved the formula and only used half of the original formula, Yi Qianxian had used too much of it. Yi Qianxian had been using the healing medicine for too long. The smell of the medicine had been engraved into his bones. The smell of the medicine was so familiar that he could not help but suspect that it had something to do with that woman. The image of Luo Qingtong's flowery face appeared in his mind. She gave off an unusually cunning and evil aura. Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes slightly. If it was that woman, she could have known the formula of his healing medicine with just one look. It was not impossible for her to have only used a portion of it to make the medicine. Yi Qianxian thought about all the strange things that Luo Qingtong had done in the 9 Magi Mountains. So that woman could not only be a weapon refiner, a spiritual array master, but also an alchemist? How many abilities did she have? My lord? Master Lu was stunned by his words. Why would the Lord suddenly ask about this? Could it be that the Lord had seen through his action of changing the medicine? No. Impossible. How could the Lord know about such a small matter? Master Lu tried his best to maintain his composure. His voice trembled as he spoke. My lord, I do not know what you mean. This medicine was made by me. The formula was also, you can't make this medicine. Yi Qianxian interrupted him. The formula could not have been made by you. There is no need to hide it. Who gave it to you? Tell me. Yi Qianxian did not know that Master Lu had changed the medicine, but he was sure that the medicine was not made by him. Because the formula of the healing medicine was not something that could be made by an ordinary person. Even if it could be made, the other party would not be able to make it. Extreme state? If the other party had really entered the extreme state, then he should know that there was an upper limit to the extreme state. Even if he entered the extreme state, it was impossible for him to make this medicine. Only a heavenly alchemist had a chance. Furthermore, it was only a slight possibility. My lord. Under Yi Qianxian's gaze, Master Lu broke out in cold sweat. He could see that Ming Zun did not know that he had changed the medicine, but he mistakenly thought that the prescription was given to him by someone else. Although he didn't know why the Great Lord was so certain, it was obvious that he was looking for the owner of the formula. But this medicine Master Lu's that it medicine. How could he dare to speak the truth? Could it be that he was going to tell the Lord that the person he was looking for had been forced away by him? Moreover, I have a grudge against him, so please don't go looking for him. How could this be? Master Lu's forehead was dripping with sweat. No matter what, he could not admit to this matter. He had to think of a way to smooth things over. Otherwise, if the Lord were to find that black-robed man, he would definitely be in deep trouble. At this time, Master Lu was extremely regretful. If he had known that Master Ya would be able to see through it at a glance and knew that it was not refined by him, why would he change the medicine? If he introduced the black-robed man to the Lord, he would also be rewarded handsomely. As he thought about it, he felt a wave of regret. Just as he was trying his best to find an excuse to get away with it, a sharp pain suddenly came from his hand. Chapter 94. This stinging pain came so suddenly, but it came with such ferocity. Master Lu suddenly screamed in pain. "How dare you!" Bei Qing scolded him coldly. "Master, what is this?" He looked at Master Lu's hands in shock. Master Lu's hands were perfectly fine just a moment ago, but now they had turned into a greenish-black color. It was a color that could only be seen after the flesh and blood had rotted away. Not only that, but a pungent smell of rot was emitted from Master Lu's hands. The stench was so strong that Bei Qing took a step back. She watched in horror as Master Lu's hands rapidly rotted and deteriorated. His hands were covered with pus and blood and dark black rotten flesh. As Master Lu convulsed violently in pain, pieces of flesh fell to the ground. The black pieces of flesh fell to the ground, emitting a strong stench. How could a person's hands become like this in an instant? Bei Qing was stunned, but Feng Yu, who was next to her, reacted quickly. "You didn't refine this medicinal liquid yourself at all, right? This is the medicine that was made by someone else. You were greedy and touched something that you shouldn't have. Your hands are rotting." His voice was cold as he stepped forward and pulled Bei Qing over. The poison that corroded his hands was so strong that it almost corroded his hands into a pile of bones. If he was infected by it, who knew what the consequences would be? Master Lu was in so much pain that he couldn't even speak. The 10 fingers were connected to the heart. His 10 fingers were rotting, and the greenish-black color was still spreading up his arms. If this went on, he might end up rotting into a skeleton. Master Lu trembled violently as he thought of this. The black-robed man. It's that black-robed old man. I have to find him. I was wrong. I shouldn't have swapped his medicine. He cried and rushed out. Without needing Feng Yu's reminder, Master Lu immediately thought of Luo Qingtong. He was shocked and frightened when he thought of the words that the other party had said before he left. The other party's poison was so powerful. He didn't even know when he was poisoned. He knew that he had swapped the medicine, but he didn't point it out. This was simply tormenting him. As Master Lu thought about it, he trembled even more. However, he did not dare to delay at all and hurriedly rushed out. He was going to find Luo Qingtong to detoxify him. Seeing him rush out of the door, Yi Qianxian, who was sitting on the main seat, finally moved. A black-robed old man? Not that woman. He looked at Master Lu's pair of terrifying skeletal hands without a trace of emotion, but now because of the other party's words, he frowned. Send someone to follow him. Also, get someone to call the manager of the auction house over. He wanted to know more about the black-robed man. Yes, Master. Bei Qing and Feng Yu accepted the order and left. In the bloody arena, Luo Qingtong was respectfully invited to the VIP room at the back, and became a guest of honor here. A group of fiendish-looking managers of the bloody arena were looking at her with a smile, with a kind look on their faces. That appearance, coupled with their fierce-looking faces, was even scarier than their usual ferocious appearances. However, Luo Qingtong did not care at all. It wasn't the first time she had come into contact with such bloodthirsty people. The other party obviously had a request for her. Chapter 95. Sir Evil Doctor. After inviting Luo Qingtong to take a seat, a manager of the bloody arena couldn't help but rub his hands. How many bottles of medicinal liquid do you have in your hands? Before he finished speaking, Luo Qingtong faintly opened her mouth. 10 bottles. Half of it will be distributed by the bloody arena, and the other half will be auctioned off. I'll take 90% of the price. How about the cooperation in the future? As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, the managers of the bloody arena were pleasantly surprised. They were just worrying about how to win over this evil Dr. Ghost Eye. The other party took the initiative to propose cooperation. Wasn't this like a sleepy bug meeting a good pillow? Without any hesitation, they agreed in one breath. In the end, for fear that Luo Qingtong would go back on her words, they hurriedly prepared her reward. After all, Luo Qingtong sold them the 5 bottles of medicinal liquid that the bloody arena had allocated themselves, and they also had to pay for it. As for the money that Luo Qingtong had won from the bet, they had already prepared it. Luo Qingtong stopped them and only took the money that she had won from the bet. This money was enough for her to use. As for the rest, she still had things to do for these people in the bloody arena. The 5 bottles of medicinal liquid could be regarded as her down payment. Luo Qingtong didn't forget her purpose in coming to the Blackfield sub-city. It was to find the detoxification herb she needed to cure the poison in her eyes. Originally, it was most reliable to find the auction house for this matter. After all, there were more transactions there, and it was easier to find the herbs that Luo Qingtong needed. But who let the pharmacist on their side be blind and offend Luo Qingtong? Since they had become enemies, Luo Qingtong naturally couldn't go to the other side to find and buy herbs. Naturally, the gory arena was the one to blame for this. Fortunately, they also belonged to the Blackfield sub-city, and their status and weight were no less than the auction house. What the latter could get, they could also find a way to get. This was the real reason why Luo Qingtong cooperated with them. As long as it was a force from the Blackfield, there was a need for cooperation. After all, Luo Qingtong didn't have that much time to find the antidote. I need these herbs. You guys think of a way to prepare them for me. If you need anything in the future, you can come to me. Luo Qingtong gave them the list of medicinal herbs. There were hundreds of medicinal herbs listed on it. The antidote that Luo Qingtong needed was hidden inside. This way, no one would be able to easily guess her motive. After winning a lot of money, Luo Qingtong was not short of money at all. Moreover, the people in the bloody arena wouldn't let her lack money. Sure enough, after hearing her words, a group of people from the bloody arena patted their chests and promised that they would help Luo Qingtong prepare all the medicinal herbs on the list as soon as possible. As for money, it didn't matter. If Lord Ghost I were to casually concoct 2 bottles of medicine for them, it would be more than enough to cover the cost of the medicine. These people in charge of the bloody arena didn't lack money. On the contrary, the medicine that Luo Qingtong concocted couldn't be bought with money. They knew better than anyone how to settle this account. Luo Qingtong smiled and nodded. She got up and prepared to leave the VIP room. Just then, a person suddenly rushed in from outside. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Who is Evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Impudent. Who are you? How dare you call Lord Evil Doctor by her name? These people in the bloody arena didn't know Luo Qingtong's real name. They thought that Evil Doctor was Luo Qingtong's name and Ghost Eye was Luo Qingtong's name. Seeing this person barge into the bloody arena's VIP room and call Luo Qingtong by her name, they were furious. Chapter 96. Impudent. How dare you touch me? The man's expression was very anxious. Seeing that the people from the bloody arena were chasing him away, he immediately took out something from his arms and held it up in front of him. Blackfield token. Seeing that black iron level token, the people from the bloody arena immediately stopped. People who had a Blackfield token were guests in the Blackfield. Unless they did something extremely excessive and violated the rules of the Blackfield, all the cities in the Blackfield had to treat them with the appropriate courtesy. Although the other party took out the lowest level Blackfield token and had limited authority, the people from the bloody arena still couldn't be too presumptuous with him. Who are you? Even if you have a Blackfield token, you can't barge into my bloody arena without any scruples. Now, please leave immediately. Otherwise, after 3 warnings, I can still throw you out. The people from the bloody arena lost face in front of Luo Qingtong and looked at the man who barged in with unkind expressions. Damn it. If the other party didn't have a Blackfield token, they would have thrown him out long ago. Lord Evil Doctor, I'm sorry. One of the people in charge of the bloody arena transmitted his voice to Luo Qingtong. You've been frightened. After a while, we'll also apply for a Blackfield token for you. It's guaranteed to be higher level than his black iron level token. When you appear in all the cities in the Black Field, you won't be harassed by these rascals. With Luo Qingtong's identity as the evil doctor, it was enough for the higher-ups to issue a Black Field token. When the time came, they just had to work a little and get a silver token. It would also save them the trouble of always having people act presumptuously in front of them and not being able to do anything to them. Wasn't this making things difficult for Lord Evil Doctor? Having already cooperated with Luo Qingtong, the people in charge of the bloody arena had long regarded her as one of their own. At this moment, seeing her being harassed by someone with an iron-grade Black Field token, and being unable to do anything about it, they were extremely displeased. Yes, it's fine. Luo Qingtong nodded indifferently at the bloody arena's manager. The opportunity to obtain the Black Field token was naturally good. Not to mention the Black Field order, which was of a higher grade. Speaking of which, she had to thank the person who had barged in. Luo Qingtong thought as she raised her head to look at the other party. When she saw it, she immediately laughed. Not for anything else, but because the person who had barged in was none other than Yu Wenma. Her good fiancé. Luo Qingtong looked at Yu Wenma playfully. Upon closer inspection, the other party was indeed a rare handsome man. His face was cold, handsome, and resolute. He possessed both the noble aura of an imperial family and the piercingly cold aura of a genius expert. However, she had already seen Yi Qianxian, a one-of-a-kind person in the world. Looking at Yu Wenma again, Luo Qingtong could only describe him with one word: passable. Of course, in this world, there were many people who couldn't even reach the standard of these two words. Yu Wenma's expression was very anxious. His gaze swept over the bloody arena's higher-ups, and finally fixed on Luo Qingtong, who didn't look like someone from the bloody arena. Especially when he saw the Rakshasa mask on her face, he immediately confirmed her identity in his heart. You're the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Come with me to save my junior sister. We're disciples of the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin. As long as you save my junior sister, we'll naturally reward you greatly. As he spoke, he thought that Luo Qingtong wouldn't refuse, so he raised his hand to pull her. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.